The Sixers' regular season, one of the biggest disappointments in recent NBA history, is finally winding down. Most of the fans who are still invested in the team have long since turned their attention to the upcoming NBA draft as a way to salvage an otherwise lost season and to restore some measure of hope and optimism for the team's future. The problem is the Sixers currently owe the Oklahoma City Thunder a top 6 protected pick in this year's draft, meaning that the Sixers will only have a first-round pick if it falls inside the top 6 following the lottery on May 12th. So let's give a quick refresher on the NBA draft lottery, hopefully clear up some confusion that you may have. First up is that the lottery process is only used to determine the first 4 picks. After that, the order is based on who has the worst record among the remaining teams. Second, for draft picks owed by trade, pick protection is evaluated after the lottery results. So if the Sixers finish with the 5th worst record in the league and do not move into the top 4, but 2 teams below the Sixers do jump into the top 4, the Sixers will still lose the pick to the Thunder. How likely is it 2 teams will jump the Sixers? Well, thanks to the NBA's recently flattened lottery odds, it's actually more likely than you assume. The Sixers finish with the 5th worst record. They have a 36.1% chance of losing the pick. If the Sixers screw up and win a few more games down the stretch and fall to the 6th worst record, their chance of losing the pick jumps all the way up to 54.2%. So this recent stretch of play, where the Sixers won just 3 games between February 5th and April 2nd, has improved their chances of keeping the draft pick in a very significant way. Third, regular season tiebreakers do not matter. Part of the confusion comes down to how the NBA handles tiebreakers for playoff teams. When 2 playoff teams tie at the end of the regular season, the NBA has a set of criteria they use to determine who gets the higher seed, beginning with the head-to-head record in games between the 2 teams during the regular season. A lot of people assume that the lottery standings are broken using the same criteria. That's not the case. In fact, 2 teams tie, the NBA splits the lottery ball combinations between them, giving each team a virtually equal chance of moving in the top 4 of the draft. I say virtually equal chance because there is then a coin flip to determine who gets the extra ping-pong ball combination if it's an odd number of combinations that the 2 teams split. So regular season head-to-head record, division record, conference record, none of that matters come May 12th. That being said, the coin flip does matter. It actually matters a lot. The results of the coin flip mentioned above sound insignificant, as it only shifts the odds of the winning team moving up in the draft by a fraction of a percent. But in the Sixers case, it has a significant impact on their chances of keeping a pick. The reason is because the coin flip also determines which team selects first if neither team moves up in the top 4. So for example, if the Sixers and the Nets tie for the 5th and 6th worst record in the league, and the Sixers win the tiebreaker, then 2 teams below the Sixers in the standings would have to jump over them in the lottery for the Sixers to lose their pick. But if the Sixers lose that tiebreaker to the Nets, then only 1 team below the Sixers would have to jump in the top 4 to cause the Sixers to lose the pick to Oklahoma City. That makes the result of the tiebreaker, if needed, a big deal for the Sixers. 5th, they recently changed the lottery odds, and they did so in a big way. Back in 2017, the NBA Board of Governors approved a change to the lottery odds, changes which took effect starting with the 2019 draft. These changes, which were in part a reaction to the aggressive rebuilding approach undertaken by Sam Hinkie and the Sixers, were made in an effort to reduce the incentive for teams to sell out in an effort to ensure that they finished with the worst record in the league. There were 2 primary changes with the updated lottery odds. First, the league now performs the lottery for the first 4 selections in the draft, whereas under the old system, they only drew for the first 3 picks. This now means that the team with the worst record in the league can fall all the way down to the 5th pick with bad luck on lottery night, whereas in the past, they were guaranteed a top 4 pick. Likewise, the team with the 2nd worst record can fall to the 6th pick, 3rd worst record can fall to the 7th pick, and so on. But the bigger change came in the flattened lottery odds. Under the previous system, the worst team in the league had a 25% chance of getting the number 1 pick, the 2nd worst team having a 19.9% chance, and the team with the 3rd worst record having a 15.6% chance. Now, under the new system, teams with the 3 worst records all have an equal 14% chance at the number 1 pick. Here is a table comparing the new lottery system to the previous one, showing the odds that a team at each slot will end up with the number 1 overall pick. The final column is a percentage change from the previous system to the new one. On its surface, this seems to help the Sixers, as if they stick with the 5th worst record that they now have, they would have a nearly 20% higher chance of getting number 1 overall pick than they would have had under the previous system. But there is one very significant drawback to the changes. Since teams further down the lottery have a much higher chance of moving up, the Sixers have a significantly lower chance of retaining their pick now than they would have had in the previous system. In fact, under the old system, the Sixers would have had a 91.2% chance of keeping their pick if they ended up with the 5th worst record, which is where they currently are on pace to finish. Under the new system, that drops all the way down to just a 63.9% chance of keeping the pick, meaning it's nearly 4 times as likely that the Sixers lose their pick under the current system than it would have been under the old one. If you have any questions on the lottery procedure, be sure to drop them in the comments below, and I will try to answer them. If you found this video informative, make sure to subscribe to the channel to receive future videos. See you there.